How we all doing today, folks? Hello, hello. This is strange. This is weird. This is weird even for me. Hello from Alabama. Cleaning house. What better thing to do on a Sunday other than celebrating Christmas in August? Christmas in August. I'm gonna take this off. This was given to me at the Christmas Spectacular in New York City. The Rockettes, right? I was excited. It doesn't fit my head. What a way to raise my self-esteem while going in to watch a show I paid big bucks to see. So yes, it is August. Obviously, there is this Christmas thing I'm trying to do. And the reason behind this is that I promised that I would do a Christmas in July video. And as it goes, life moves pretty quickly, and I never really got around to it. Time just got the better of me, you know? And then I said I was gonna do a Christmas in August video, and I really wanted to make up for not doing it in July, and I wanted to get do something kind of funny, you know, make it look like a Perry Como special. Good evening from Europe. Thank you for tuning in on this lovely afternoon here in upstate New York. But I never ended up doing that very festive August video either. And really, we're days away now until we're in September, and I got a very, very busy schedule. San Francisco! All right. I love San Francisco. I'm gonna be visiting. Well, I should be quiet about that because I don't know for sure, but hopefully sooner than later. Germany's in the house. Colorado. I love this. Merry Christmas. I love Perry Como. So this is what it's boiled down to. We got a few days left of August. I didn't give you your Christmas in July or August video, so I figured I'd do it on Smell It Sunday, our live stream every Sunday at 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. And you know, the reason why I never really got around to it is because I wanted to get my hands on a few more Christmas candles for 2017. Do a little bit more of kind of the spoiler alert, sneak peek kind of thing. But I really didn't have much luck. In fact, some of you have had more luck than I have. Some of you have reached out to me and found some interesting fragrances for the upcoming year. However, I did find a few brand new 2017 Christmas candles. One from the UK, one from the US. So I will discuss those, share my notes, my thoughts, my sensory evaluation on those candles, and then I'm also going to do my top 5 all-time Yankee candle fragrances. I'm just hoping I didn't forget anything, but I picked out 5 of my favorites because you guys are always wanting to know what are my favorite fragrances. And then after that, after we get a good dose of Christmas in our system, we'll talk about what's coming up down the week. We got a big week. I'm gonna be on the road, gonna be traveling one location to the next, starting with South Deerfield, Massachusetts, home of the Yankee Candle Village flagship store for the 2017 Halloween preview party. Will you be there? I will be there. I'll be the first one online. So let's get into it. Let's celebrate this Christmas season. I have a gingerbread house made by Monica Carlson. That's gonna be my sister-in-law. She's at Knott's Berry Farm right now, so she's not gonna be tuning in. But this is from last year, and we still have it. Yes, we still have it. We just, you know, especially with me, I just don't have the heart to throw things away. So there's a little detail. I never told Monica that I thought it was really nicely done because, you know, I didn't want to give her the satisfaction. But yeah, it's very nicely done. Very nicely done, Monica. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. We're already 5.5 minutes into it. Okay, We don't need music in the background. That's just an annoyance. Brand new fragrances for 2017. Well, if only Santa were here, we could ask him. We could ask Santa to bring us some fragrances from Yankee Candle 2017. Jorge, how you doing? Thank you for the comment on the shirt. Yes, this is it's kind of my go-to Christmas shirt. I triple dog dare you to make fun of it. Triple dog dare you. If only Santa were here. Wait a minute. Do you hear that? That little ring-a-ding-ding? I think someone's in the house. Santa Claus. Oh no. He brought his sleigh. You've brought your sleigh. Did you bring us any toys, any gifts to open? You have? Did you bring us any candles? That's what these folks want to know. You brought us some candles. All right, all right. So Santa is being very festive. Hello, hello. Let's see what Santa brought for us. Look at this. Real quick. I can't believe you remembered to bring this for me, Santa. This was my favorite toy growing up. This is a scratch and sniff book by the name of The Sweet Smell of Christmas. 6 Christmas fragrances, labels inside for you to scratch and sniff. Pretty much, it's this little bear's celebration of Christmas and all of the wonderful smells that go along. So already as a child, definitely there was something going on with fragrance, aroma, and I shouldn't say nostalgia, I was a child, but I was very comforted by aromas. So thank you for that, Santa. I recommend, that's actually on eBay. I don't know how, or not eBay, Amazon. I don't know if the scratch and sniff, if they smell similar, if they're different. But if you you know, you need a little gift, little like, I mean, this is like technology of the 80s, well 80s, 60s really. But if you need a little bit of a gift for Christmas time, go pick that up. Go pick that up. I don't want them to put it out of print, is what I'm trying to say. Santa, candles. We need candles. Is this a garbage? Did you bring your gifts in a garbage bag? The nerve of some people. All right. What do we have here? You can see he's wrapped these exceptionally. Really appreciate it. Oh, by the way, that is a life-size snowman. That's all I have to say. I just wanted to let you know. All right. In my hands is a brand new fragrance for 2017 for the UK. This is a UK release. Several of you have been asking about this. I believe I showed this before, a long time ago on a live, but I never reviewed it. It is called Christmas Magic. Let's see if we can catch a little bit of light there. Christmas Magic. Now, I do want to point out a few things before we go into it. Now, this is the small jar, so the image is certainly cropped. I know that's out of focus, people. But does that remind anybody of anything? An artwork? Does that remind anybody of any piece of Christmas artwork? Well, it did to me, and I really, really don't think it's an accident. If you're familiar with Christmas in Stockbridge, it's a very large panoramic oil on, I'm not sure if it's, I think it's oil on masonite painting by Norman Rockwell, and it's one of my favorite pieces that he ever did. And it's very unlike most of the work that he did. He usually did a lot of portraits, of course. Not only that, but if you look at this picture, it's almost deliberately, these are deliberately made to look like miniature houses. Yeah, like that's not like some street in New England on a snowy day. It's a miniature. I like that touch. I like that touch. It's almost as if they're telling us right off the bat that this is make-believe. This is This is in the spirit of Christmas, where we decorate things, whether it be decorate for a time period or a location, to put us in a certain mood. I love miniatures. So let's give this a sniff. So it's because this is a live format, folks. You know, when I review my candles, it takes a long time. It could take up to 25, even 40 minutes sometimes for me to review candles. So I kind of jotted down some of my notes here. Christmas mug, Garfield. I jotted some of my notes here. So this way I could rip-roar through them. But I told you before in another vlog how much I really enjoyed this fragrance. At first sniff, it seemed very simplistic. And simplistic is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. But the more time I spent with it, the more I realized, wow, you know what? There actually is a lot going on. And it's not the typical Christmas Yankee candle. Definitely not typical. A lot of Christmas fragrances, but the mixture, not typical. Right off the bat, let's talk about this baking spices, because really when it comes to Christmas candles, if we're not talking about pine, and if we're not talking about like baked goods or like vanilla based cookies, you're always talking about some form of baking spices, those warm kitchen cabinet spices that make us feel warm and cozy. And in this case for me, it is big time cinnamon. I mean, if you drink any like apple cinnamon tea, if you're one of those folks, apple cinnamon tea, very similar to that steeped cinnamon aroma. A little bit of clove. A little bit of clove makes this a very interesting choice. Not a lot of clove in Christmas candles, at least not up until this year. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think there's a lot of clove. Star anise. So let me see, what did I find? As far as like the potpourri baking spices, I went with cinnamon, nutmeg, star anise, clove, orange zest is a big one. Orange zest. You know, that dried out orange, whether it's blood orange or orange zest that you peel and you let it dry out, or you steep it in a tea. It gives it that little extra brightness, but also a little bit of that spiciness. And what is really, really interesting about this candle is it's reminding me of one of my favorites that's not usually a favorite among the Yankee Candle crowd. I won't say what candle that is because it's going to be in my top 5 coming up. But there's a little bit of this cherry cola. Yeah, like Coca-Cola, crack that can, cherry Coke. We could say Dr. Pepper if we want, but you're definitely getting the cola profile with that very sweet maraschino cherry. So baking spices, fruity. I said a little bit of that apple cinnamon tea thing. A lot going on so far. We're touching on a lot of different avenues. Of course, we have some form of wood. It's a Christmas candle, so I classified it as cedar, or to paint a better portrait, firewood. And this is a smoky candle, but I had my father smell this candle, and he actually I think he nailed it. It's not like you're sitting by the fire, you know, you get a little bit of that wafting smoke, the billowing smoke from the fireplace going up that chimney with care. It's more of that smoke was once here, you know, smelling a fireplace that hasn't been lit in a long time, that area in the living room, the hearth where we all sit in front of the fire, has that lingering smoke aroma, like something has experienced smokiness. Do you follow me? Do you follow me? You see why I edit my videos? Because I have to take out a lot of me doing the jibber jabber. And speaking of smoke, definitely picking up on some form of incense here. Now that wood that cedar that I was saying is not hurting that effect, but there is, I want to say, frankincense, and I could be totally wrong. I fully admit when I could be completely off base, but there is that Christmas, 3 wise men, frankincense, myrrh, incense thing going on. I don't know if it's because of the wood that I'm smelling, but I am getting that that fruitier, sweeter, brighter frankincense that we've come to know so well. And yeah, I mean, for me, I would love to get the full jar of this. I will get the full jar of this. I usually don't share my opinions, but this one, this is big. I don't know if a lot of Poland's in the house. I don't know if a lot of folks in the US would be crazy about this, because I think a lot of us sometimes can be afraid of baking spices. A lot of us have like the allergic reactions, and that's completely fair. I'm a little bit, well, actually not a little bit, quite a bit allergic to certain spices if I get them in large doses. But for me to paint this portrait, I mean, look at those houses. Look at those houses. Now, I said they were miniatures, but imagine the old, quaint New England house, driving down an old New England neighborhood, snow-covered streets, the street lights all lit, throwing off that glow, the glow being softened by the falling snow. I'm being very corny here, but I want to paint this portrait. And that feeling of pulling into someone's driveway, walking in that older building, that older house, the creaky, ancient floorboards, that woodiness, the oakiness, that lived-in smell of that old house, with that fire burning in the next room, and all of those spices, the tea, the baking spices, the cinnamon, the clove, even the orange zest, creating this smell of wafting aromatics, fragrance of a spiced tea on the oven, on the stove, on the oven stove, same thing, not on, you know what I mean. But that wonderful smell of tea in the air. I really enjoy this one. So Christmas magic. I want to make sure there's nothing here that I didn't. Is there anything I wanted to say? No. I think I covered it pretty well. All right. So Santa, how we doing, folks? We hanging in there? Let's hit that thumbs up button if you're having a good time. If you're not, then don't hit thumbs down. But yes, you know, the other candles in this collection seem like they're going to be a whole lot of fun. That's why I wanted to wait to do my Christmas in July video, or Christmas in August, whatever we want to call it at this point, because I was so excited for the lineup for both the US and the UK. Let's pull up this live video here. Turn the volume down. All right. What coffee am I drinking? New from Starbucks. You guys know me. I like the small micro coffee roasters, but I am not a Starbucks hater. I frequent Starbucks. This is going to be their new single origin. What's varietal? Hybrid of Timor? A hybrid of Timor. I don't know. Okay, so it's not saying like there's a secondary one, so maybe there's different varieties of Timor. And washed process. That's always going to make it a little bit more fruitier, which I enjoy. Elevation 4,125 feet. It's called East Timor Tamileo. That's how you pronounce it, guys. I'm terrible at this stuff. But I do love my coffee. And I brewed this today with your standard drip coffee maker. That's right. That's right. People want to know if I have a fancy coffee drip maker. Mr. Coffee. Mr. Coffee gets the job done. Santa, more candles. Second candle for 2017, at least I'm guessing. And this one is going to be for the US. As we can clearly see by the label. This one you might have found. I was very excited when I first found this in May, but then I realized that Bed Bath & Beyond received this in July. July. Why? Can somebody explain that to me? This is going to be called Balsam and Clove. Now, we all know that balsam and cedar is the biggest selling, most successful Yankee candle of all time. So every year we do have a balsam and something, or balsam something. They're always trying to create the next balsam, popular balsam fragrance. So let's see if this one. Let's see if this one is it. My last favorite balsam was sparkling balsam. Was it 2 years ago? I almost put that in my top 5, but I refrained because I only wanted to do one pine themed Christmas candle. So let's give this one a sniff. So again, balsam and clove. A lot of people not into clove. Are things turning around? Clove is not big with Yankee Candle in Christmas. It is for autumn, but not for Christmas. But we already have 2 candles that have considerable amount of clove. Oh yeah. Much a different approach, although you're going to hear me say a lot of similar notes on this one. I love clove too, in moderation, I think just like patchouli, for the exception of Witch's Brew, patchouli and clove are essential for pulling at the heartstrings, but they have to be blended in right, because in too large of a dose, it could turn off a lot of people. A lot of people don't realize, people who don't like clove and patchouli, some of their favorite scents have patchouli and clove in them. Horror Queen, I know she loves Witch's Brew. Okay, so definitely clove, a nice, significant amount of clove here, but that is not going to be the dominant spice. See, they've softened up that clove, so it's not so aggressive. They softened it. In my opinion, this smells like a really fine ground cinnamon. Hi, Courtney. Your first live chat ever. Perfect. Look at this. We're at 51. That's a record of as many people in the chat room. Very fine ground cinnamon. This is, you know, if you've ever smelled Saigon cinnamon is what I use for my oatmeal. It's got a good kick, it's got good spice, but it's not that hot tamale candy or that atomic fireball candy. It's not the red hot candy. It doesn't have that kind of spiciness. It's the intensity of the cinnamon is strong. But a very fine cinnamon, uncooked, unbaked. So this is like fresh cinnamon out of the jar. This is not like a cinnamon that's been baked in something. Now, what's going to really hide the next thing I'm going to say are those 2 spices that I just mentioned. There is a sweetness here. There is a significant cane sugar. I always go for confectioner sugar. Cane sugar, or you could say frosting, whatever you want. Some kind of confectionery sweetness, goodness. You know, think of that confectioner sugar sprinkled on top of Christmas cookies. There is massive sweetness, but those spices neutralize that sweetness quite a bit. And that's balance, folks. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Someone smelling this might say, oh, this doesn't smell sweet at all. It is sweet, but there are other things that are putting that sugar into its place. There is that wood, that cedar bark. There is that outdoor Christmas tree woodiness without the tree sap. Not the tree sap, not the what do you call the sticky stuff, the terpene. I always call that the sap. Apparently that's not the sap. It doesn't have that sweet pine needle smell, but it does have that woody pine cone smell. And don't get that confused with the pine cones that you buy at the craft store that have been, you know, sprayed with cinnamon and nutmeg and allspice. Go outside, pick a pine cone off the tree, and smell it. And because that's what I'm getting. It's a very dry wood smell. And like I said, cedar bark. And unlike the Christmas Magic, where that cedar and the smoke created this warmth, it created this feeling of being indoors, in shelter. The lack of smoke here gives this a wonderful feeling, and plus the color doesn't hurt. That beautiful silver, almost the same exact color as a silver birch. That wax gives us more of a feeling of a cooler fragrance. Sure, it's got some baking spices in it, but for me, when I close my eyes and smell this, I'm thinking more outdoors, Christmas time, sipping on a nice spiced beverage. So sugar, spices, we said that woody pine cone, cedar bark. Again, folks, this is why I edit my videos. Yeah, and I wrote this. You know, I was kind of back and forth with this one. And, you know, if I was editing a video like this, you know, usually during the editing process, that's when I decide to leave or cut out certain things like this. But there is a fruitiness here. And it's just very hard underneath those spices to classify it. But I was really trying to rack my brain, and I decided on, you know what, I got it. I said that cinnamon apple on the last one. I'm definitely getting a little bit of a berry tartness, and again, a little bit of that apple. So I went with cran apple juice. Did we ever drink that stuff? That stuff was loaded with sugar. I don't know, was it Ocean Spray who made it? Cran sugar. I used to have that stuff every morning. But that fruitiness does, again, balance. It's gonna give this a great spectrum of spice, outdoor woodiness, earthiness, with a little bright fruitiness. And if you want some nostalgic candy associations, and I don't think anyone would disagree with this, if you had gumdrops, the cinnamon gumdrops with the really coarse crystallized sugar on the outside, very reminiscent of that. And strawberry Twizzlers. Yes, not the cherry. Strawberry Twizzlers. And it's not so much the fruit that I'm smelling, it's more of that gelatinous, pectin, candy, sugary goodness that I'm smelling. So there we go, Balsam and Clove. If you want to get your hands on this now, they have this in the small, medium, and large house warmers at Bed Bath & Beyond. I'm not being negative. I'm not being picky. I just don't know why some like Bed Bath & Beyond and Hallmark this year with the Halloween. Why are they getting them so early? Yankee goes to such an enormous amount of effort to keep things under wraps, and yet they send Bed Bath & Beyond this candle 6 months in advance. So I don't understand what that's all about. Maybe they're not supposed to put them out, but they do. All right, so those are the 2017 candles. What do you guys think? What would you choose between the two? Christmas Magic or Balsam and Clove? I'm getting very worried. My phone is saying battery is dying. It is plugged in. But I think we should be okay. All right, Christmas Magic for me. I will look at the Clove one, both Balsam and Clove. What else? My favorite candle is Red Berries and Cedar. I just picked up a new Red Berries and Cedar. Hi, I'm from Paris, France. So happy this time I don't miss you live. I love Christmas scents so much. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, this is a good one to catch live. Let's jump into it. Let's not waste any more time. I'm going to go into my top 5 favorite Yankee Candle Christmas fragrances. Come on, guys. Not you guys, but hold on a second. All right. Good. All right. So you know, I did this really quickly. I didn't like stew over this for days, but I think this is a pretty good representation either way of my top 5. Now these are not going to be in any particular order here, and I highly recommend that I don't ever try to sell these candles to you. That's never my objective. I don't want to be a salesman, but I do recommend that some of these that are rare, that you do hunt them down now, because some of these are retired, but they're still available. So get them now before you can't ever get them. One of these is very hard, very hard to get, and folks are always complaining that they can't get it. And you know, it was around for years. First one might shock a lot of people. But absolutely, very simply, Merry Christmas. That is correct. Merry Christmas. This being a limited edition of 2013. Really take a good look at the label there. Look at that. It's the label on the label on the label. It's one of those mind twisters, right? But has that very reminiscent Santa Claus Coca-Cola look and feel. I always wondered if Yankee was going for that when they created these labels, because there's a couple labels that have this retro, very cool oil painting style Santa Claus. Now, what does this smell like? I have one and one only. No, I can give you a few descriptors. This is peppermint. This is peppermint candy. This is candy cane. This is, you know, the little peppermint wheels. That's it. That's it. So when I say simplicity is not a bad thing, this is precisely what I mean. When I smell this candle, my heart beats to the tune of Christmas. There's nothing that can pull out Christmas emotions and feelings from my mind more than this smell right here. And it's straight up peppermint. Now, again, I should be more specific. It's not like peppermint extract. This is peppermint candy. So lots of sweetness, lots of sugar. And I had the great experience last year at Old Sturbridge Village in Massachusetts. It's a living museum where they were making in-house peppermint candies. And as soon as I popped that candy in my mouth, watch that video. It's from December of last year. As soon as I had that candy, bam, it just reminded me of this candle. Now, I don't know. I actually am not sure. I think they have retired Merry Christmas based on, I guess, the simplicity. I don't know, but I highly recommend it. A second great option if you want a little bit extra in your candle, if you want a little bit more than just the peppermint. One of my favorites, and it was very hard for me not to include it in this list, peppermint bark. I can't tell you. If I could probably only burn one Christmas candle forever, it would be something like this or peppermint bark. Very cool. So, Merry Christmas. Like I said, these are in no particular order, but let's jump into candle number 2. This is the one that everybody wants. And it's so hard to find, and sometimes it could be very expensive. This one has been with me for a long time, unlit. It experienced an earthquake and survived, but there are some scratches on the label, some battle wounds. This is going to be, once again, very straightforward gingerbread. All right. Now, shown on that label, we have not just a gingerbread, we see the frostings and the cookies and the candies, all of the things that we come to expect, the peppermints, gumdrops, things that we come to expect on a gingerbread house. However, don't let that fool you. This is the smell of not gingerbread dough, right? This happens a lot. I think this is what makes this one stand out from the other gingerbread cookies. People are like, what's the best gingerbread cookie or ginger Yankee candle? This is what makes this one special, in my opinion. In my opinion, a lot of the ginger cookies that are candles that we smell has that cookie dough, very delicious cookie dough smell, that raw smell of the dough and the sugar and the all-purpose flour. Lovely, perfect, very aromatic. But there is a distinct baked Maillard reaction. Maillard reaction. I use that all the time. Look it up if we don't know what I mean. It simply just means an enzymatic browning. This smells like a browned, freshly baked, maybe even a little bit over-baked gingerbread cookie or pieces for house. Because you do get that very toasty, that brown around the corners, crispy, crumbly gingerbread aroma. As far as the other things that we see in this picture, and the frosting and the candies and all of that, you know, it adds to the experience being on the photo, but this is really an exceptional, very focused, beamed in approach of the smell of freshly baked gingerbread without any other embellishments. I mean, I do want to throw in there that I do smell things like honey. There is a rich honey smell in there. Large amount of sweetness, but same as the candle that we were just talking about. So much spice, ginger spice. And not just ginger spice, but cinnamon and nutmeg as well. Maybe even some, definitely allspice. Those spices tone down the sweetness. I filmed a review on this candle last Halloween, believe it or not. It was an episode I did called When Two Holidays Collide. And I reviewed this candle next to, I think I've described this several times, next to Black Magic. And it was kind of my Nightmare Before Christmas mixology idea. You burn this candle next to Black Magic for, Nightmare Before Christmas. If Christmas met Halloween, came together, if you burn those two candles side by side, your mind will be blown. I'm just saying that right now. And if you can't find gingerbread, you know, just about every gingerbread or ginger-themed Yankee candle that I smell is always still delicious. But Black Magic and gingerbread, although Black Magic might not be coming back this year, still absolutely no proof of that anywhere. So I'm just saying, once it's official, that candle is going to be worth a lot of money. So make sure you check out Amazon, eBay, all of those sources for Black Magic. You don't want to not have that in your collection. Third on the list, how we doing on time? 38 minutes. We're doing all right. I am very worried about my phone battery though. If this goes dead, I don't know what we'll do, but if it goes dead, you'll know that it's because of the battery on my phone. This was my mistake. It's plugged in, but it's using more battery. It's quicker than it's charging. Third on the list is going to be a mistletoe. Mistletoe. So you have to have a pine-themed candle. And this one has been around for a long, long time. And even though balsam and cedar is the most popular, the most successful, and I love balsam and cedar, don't get me wrong, but the reason why I love mistletoe is, oh my God, it's the smell, and I say it all the time, so excuse me if I'm just so repetitious, dried out pine needles. Don't think about January when it's time to throw away the Christmas tree. Don't think about that. What comes to my mind, I'm telling you, what I'm seeing right now is my mother, my father in our family room as when I was a child, us breaking out all of the boxes of Christmas decorations. You know, it was right after Thanksgiving or a couple weeks into November. We put up the tree, start decorating things, and you start opening up those cardboard boxes, and you start noticing that there's you know, dried up pine needles, twigs, and branches from the prior year. All year, those needles have been drying, roasting. Usually we would keep them in warm closets or the attic or the shed, so they'd really be roasted. The smell of very dried old pine needles. And let me tell you, if that sounds like it's a bad thing, it is not. This pulls at my heartstrings so incredibly much. It does remind you, you know, when it's time to water the tree. I don't know why it was such a chore for me as a kid. My dad would always tell me, water the tree, and he had to go underneath there and like fill up the bucket with water. It reminds me of that journey when you get down on your hands and knees and you had to crawl under the tree, and we'd always get like the sharper needle pine trees, not the soft ones, so it would hurt and it would sting, and you dump the water into the pot. That experience of hanging out as a child underneath the Christmas tree. Mistletoe. Excellent, excellent. I highly recommend it. There's a reason why that candle has been around for decades. There's a reason. It's not just because of the name. Alright, this next one is going to be a shocker for some folks. It's going to be a shocker because a lot of people do not like this fragrance. I love it, and I have reviewed it when I visited Santa's Village in Jackson, New Hampshire. It's still available in the new labels. It has not been retired, but that is going to be Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve. Thank you, Horror Queen, for commenting on that video. It was one of my favorites to film. I always say that about my videos, but now the reason why a lot of people don't you know, enjoy this candle sometimes is because you don't get that pine. You don't get those extraordinary, very spicy, heavy baking spices. This is a fruit-driven candle. It's kind of, it's backwards. It's not necessarily what you would think, but you know, bramble, raspberry, blackberries, blueberries, very tart berries, enhanced with massive, massive citrus, very tart smelling, and amaretto. You know, amaretto, the little cure. It's made from stone fruits, and it's got, you know, it's made with almonds. I don't know what the exact procedure is to make it, but it has that definitive amaretto aroma, that nuttiness contrasted by that peach pit, plum pit, the center of a peach or a nectarine or a plum, that aroma. And when you say plum, it makes you think of, you know, the sugar plums, right? The night before Christmas. To keep this going, I am going to move on, but look at that photograph, folks. I've made my peace with the new Yankee Candle labels, but this is what we're passing up. This is what we're passing up. Look how much story is being told. We have this quaint old town underneath the setting sun or the setting moon or the rising moon. Santa holding the holly berry. There's so much going on in this photo that is completely lost in the newer label. Again, I've made my peace with the newer labels, but that's the sacrifice. We're losing a little bit of that story. Number five on the list today, and this one is a little oddball, but I had to throw an oddball in there. I mentioned how I love peppermint. I mentioned how I love peppermint bark. I didn't want to throw peppermint bark in there. But one of my favorite candles, and I have so many of them, so I don't even realize how it actually is pretty hard to find these days, red velvet cake. So why am I mentioning both? This is a swirl called Candy Cane Cottage. Do we see that? That is going to be a swirl candle of, you guessed it, peppermint bark and red velvet cake. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And how delicious of a contrast is this, right? because you get that sweet buttercream, vanilla, happy birthday cupcake frosting from that red velvet cake, that kind of cocoa cake-ish, cocoa chocolate cake-ish aroma from the red velvet cake, but heavily contrasted by the big time sweetness and cooling sensation, that peppermint aroma of that peppermint bark. Peppermint bark also does have a little bit of this cocoa white